All right, good morning. I am Kristen Dokas. I am the Director of Social Media with Atlantic Webworks, and I am joined today by our fearless leader and president, Adrienne Krieger-Jandler. And one of the frequent questions that we get in marketing, and specifically social media, is should every business be on social media? So Adrienne and I thought we'd take a few minutes and do a blab and kind of go through some of the pros and cons and ups and downs, if you will, of what businesses really do perform the best and how those that may not traditionally be social can actually create a presence on that. So Adrienne, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll get going.
Sure, great, thanks. So great to be here with you this morning. And so as president of Atlantic Webworks, I'm often one that's out on sales calls with, prospective clients. And it's interesting because there are certain businesses that they know they need to be on social. But I'm still surprised at, how many, especially business-to-business companies, will say to me, well, our clients aren't on social media. And I think what they really mean is that, and some of them say it, but some of them just say, oh, our clients aren't on social media. I think what they really mean, though, is that they don't think that their clients are looking for their services through social media, which is probably true. And so, their immediate response is, well, our clients aren't on social media, so we don't need to be there. And I would actually disagree.
Right.
I mean, I think absolutely there are businesses that probably don't have a lot to gain from being on social, and we can talk about that. But I think if you look at why you want to be on social media and what companies have to gain from being there, I think the answer is you want to be present in a community where your stakeholders, which includes not only your clients, but your employees, your vendors, your people in the business community, where they are. And so the question is, where are they? And, certainly, Kristen, you could, share some more about the specific channels and where different audiences are. But there's no question that we all use social media now in one channel or another.
Adrienne, can you speak on a little bit the benefit for SEO and Google search and social media?
Absolutely. I mean, the search engines now index the predominant social networks and their posts. So when you have a post, those posts are now searchable through the search engines. And if you think about it, LinkedIn in particular, every company should be on LinkedIn, and certainly every executive, if not every manager and every employee, really. But how many times have you ever done a Google search for a person and their LinkedIn profile comes up?
Almost always.
Always. And that LinkedIn profile will almost always come up above their company website. And so, and it's true too, you see their Facebook profiles and any other profiles they have. And so there's really value there in being able to be found. Ditto for the company. If you're searching for the company and there's a company profile on LinkedIn or company Facebook page or other social network, that's that many more opportunities for your company to come up and be able to be found when someone is searching for you. And if you think about, you think about the opposite of that. Let's say that you're out at a networking event, a chamber after hours, a GMA, something like that, and you meet someone and they're really impressive and they give you their card, or maybe you don't have their card. Maybe you're referred to them by someone there. You get back to the office the next day and you just remember the company name. So you do a quick Google search. Number one, does their company come up at all? And number two, does it come up in multiple ways? Do you see them on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and other places? I think it has a lot more impact. And certainly for a company, especially a company with any size or length of lifetime, it would be odd to do a search for them and have nothing come up. So I think that has to be a consideration as well.
Well, and I think a business that may traditionally go, scoff at social media, they think for whatever reason, they think social media equals Facebook, and that does not mean that's the case at all, because it's across the gamut. especially a B2B company, if they only choose one, it needs to be LinkedIn, and they need to have a strong presence there because the decision makers, quite often, that's where they are. They're not necessarily on Facebook. The demographics of that are largely females, ages 35 and up, and it's growing older literally every day.
Absolutely. And you think about things too. I was talking with a company the other day that recruiting for them is huge. I mean, they're growing very quickly, and they're expanding geographically. They're spending a significant amount of time and money recruiting. And when you think about recruiting and you think about what people are looking for now in a career, quality of life is important, and the quality of the workplace. You're spending 40 or more hours a week of your life at this place, and so having the opportunity to get a bird's eye view of what's the day in, day out like, what's the culture, what are the personalities of the people, and the way they treat their clients, and do they have fun?
Right.
Those are some things that social media also gives you an opportunity to share and explore. And it costs you, comparatively little. And it is, I think another thing to mention too, is it's providing an ongoing piece for you. So, it's not like an ad where you're running the ad and as soon as you stop paying for the ad, it's gone. You've developed an asset that's going to continue to live on its own and be searchable and viewable moving forward.
Well, and I think something you said is very key. It shows the personality of the company. And I think that is something that a lot of people don't grasp. They don't really understand. It's the old adage of, I can do business with anyone, but I choose to do business with you, not you, the company, but you, the person. I can have anybody build me a website, right? But I like you, Adrian, because of the care and attention and the liveliness that you offer. And if you're that way in every day, then I feel like you're going to bring that to me as a client, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, another thing too, I was thinking about, I think a lot of times people mistake why they might use social media. So I think when these companies say, oh, our clients aren't there and they're not going to social media to find our services, that's probably true. There probably are a lot of businesses where the client is not going there to find your services, but the same could be said of advertising anywhere, right?
Well, absolutely.
No one's going to the television to find their next fill in the blank. No one's going and saying, I think I'll look in the business journal to see who I might find as a first stop, or any print publication or radio or anything. So, I mean, none of the channels or media where you might advertise are a place that someone's going to start their search for your services. It comes back to branding, people being aware that you even exist. And I think that's where you have to evaluate it that way. And I think it's an interesting phenomena that people equate it that way, because we don't equate other types of, we don't equate advertising that way. And I don't want to say that social media is advertising. It's not. But it's funny to me that people want to evaluate it that way when in fact they don't evaluate any other channels that way. So
one of the other things too is the most phenomenal thought just slipped out of my head. Legitimacy. I mean, I know I'm in the business and I live in the business. So for me though, it's the equivalent of 20 years ago, or well, we won't even go that far back, but 15 years ago when you met somebody and they said, you got their business card and you went and looked for their website and they didn't have a website. You're like, well, are you really even a legitimate business anymore? For me, searching on social is the first place that I go, or I might go to their website and then go to their social media accounts. But if they have zero presence, to me, that kind of makes me wonder, the investment they're giving in their marketing and their effort to connect with their clients and their consumers and their customers.
Absolutely. And I think too, just like anything else, when you think about how people find out about your business, right? They may stumble upon you, but oftentimes there's also referrals and people that you like, trust, and respect who may give your name out. And certainly, last night even, I was on Facebook, and, a friend of mine said, hey, I'm looking for a plumbing company. Who would you recommend? And 20 people responded back with recommendations. I mean, there are people actually looking there, but more often than not, though, I think there are a million times that any of us have been on a social network, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever network it might be, and you see a post that someone has shared or commented on, and it's a company you weren't familiar with, or a product or service you may not have been familiar with, and you'll click through to check it out because it looks interesting, or it may meet a need that you need, or an upcoming need. And so it's a great way to discover those companies. And wouldn't you like your company to be the one? That's what we all want. And so I think that's a big part of it as well.
Well, and again, it's a huge search engine. Facebook is really YouTube is the number 2 search engine behind Google, and Facebook obviously is trying to, nip away at that statistic as well. But you're right. It's just, it's the word of mouth amplified. And that's what we've always told our folks. And it's also, it's like a virtual online Better Business Bureau, because if you're going to do business with a company, you're going to check them out and you're going to see the negatives, the positives. And I think similar to buying a car, most of us, by the time we put our foot onto a car lot, we've done our research. We know what we want. We know what the prices are, et cetera. And it's just the consumer is far too savvy now for companies to not put their best foot forward and have a strong presence in there. It's not always easy to do, but it takes time. And just like anything else, once you kind of get over that learning curve, you can really have a great presence.
Absolutely. I mean, and Kristen, you're a perfect one to shed light on. I mean, what companies or types of businesses would you say perhaps maybe they wouldn't need to be in the social networks? Well,
and I mentioned this to you earlier this week. Mark Schaefer had a fabulous article last month on his blog about, should all companies be there? And actually, I think this was kind of the juxtaposition of how we got to this topic. And he made a great point, and I agree with this. You should be there if you're selling concrete pipes. And I think the way he likened it was like, if you think your company would be talked about around a dinner table, you should have a strong presence. If it's not that you shouldn't be there, but that may not be where you don't put all your eggs in that basket. So if you make concrete pipes, you're probably not going to have a whole lot to talk about on Facebook. It's not very social. You can get very creative with it, sure. But for the most part, you're going to probably want to put your efforts a little bit higher with other initiatives. But those are the kind of businesses, as we mentioned earlier, should absolutely have a strong presence on LinkedIn, because that's more of a B2B. You see some B2C there, but it's largely B2B, and that's where your executives are. And, again, it may not, it's just the connections of the female version of who do you know that can do this on Facebook happens largely with B2B on LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yeah, and I think too, any company that is not going to embrace it, it's kind of like that diet. I can go and pay to go to Weight Watchers, but if all I'm doing is showing up each week and I'm not doing any of the rest of it, I probably maybe ought to wait a little bit. And I think for those companies that really truly are joining a social network because they feel that everyone else is, and I see that, right? We see that in our clients. I can't tell you how many companies we go to, and they're having us do development work and design work to put their social media icons in, and then we go and find out that they're not even there. They just want the icons, right? Because everyone else has them. So, if they're not going to commit to utilizing it, right, and being present and participating and really being a member of that community, then they're better off not being there, because it makes them look bad rather
Absolutely. And we talk to people all the time that they think it's a checkbox. It's like they have their to-do list and it's like check, 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 check. And okay, I'm done now. And they move on. I mean, it's an ongoing, everyday thing. And, I'm a huge advocate for literally every day, every single day, maybe not Saturday and Sunday. Also coming up with a standard operating, SOP of how you're going to maintain that. I mean, I've seen companies actually in their Twitter bios put, we man this Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. Anything that's not, anything that comes in after that, we'll get to it the next day. So I think setting that standard for your followers and for people that are following you on any of the social media accounts is a great idea, because should something happen at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have not set the expectation that somebody's going to be there on the ready to serve you.
Yeah, that is a real interesting idea too. Do you think that that's something that every company should adopt? Some kind of a guideline that gives an idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they're going to do it the right way. I think if they're going to do it the right way and be there and make a good effort to really embrace the community. I mean, it takes time. We know that. It takes a lot of time. And honestly, it's not as easy now as it was 3 or 4 years ago. How many times have we talked about how we miss the Twitter of old? And, it takes a lot of time to build that community, and it's just not the same as it was. So what happens is you tend to end up with a lot of information being pushed out, and a lot of companies where they also mess up is that all they send out is information on themselves. If I'm looking to you as an industry leader, I'm looking for you to give me everything in the industry, not just what your company's doing. Yeah, I want to see that, but at the same time, that's not the only thing that I want to see.
That's a real interesting point too, because I see sometimes, and in talking with clients and prospects, talking about the types of content that would be shared. And in fairness, I get it. If you're new to social networks, then it's understandable that you don't know. So it's okay. But I see folks that will say, well, gosh, what in the world would we say about ourselves? 5 days a week. And of course I've said, well, it doesn't have to be about yourselves. And, what about all your clients? What about your vendors, your partners, your employees, the industry, and I think it makes a company, no one wants to go to a company who lives in their own box and only consult, there is no one company who has all the answers. And so I think you are almost like a bigger person, you're a bigger company. When you show, look, we've got some fantastic competitors, there's a lot going on in the industry that we love to talk about and read and share. And if we have the privilege of your business, Mr. Client, then you're, going to get the best we have to offer, but you're also going to get the benefit of our staying abreast of the industry. And yes, we're going to share things with you that sometimes that our competitors have, because if it's good information, we want you to know it. We'd rather bring it to you than, just toot our own horn all the time. So I think that's a real interesting thing, because I hear it a lot. Oh, what in the world are we going to say? We just don't have that much going on. And content curation is such a huge part of it that really I don't think should be a concern.
Absolutely not. And if businesses stop and look at the amount of content they've already created, they've got plenty of stuff. I mean, whether it's case studies, whether it's testimonials. I mean, if they really wanted to talk all about themselves, which we don't recommend, they could, but they just have to look at the stuff they've already created. And again, that goes down to go through your website. Look for the links within your website, talk about new products. And I think that's another thing too. I think a lot of companies are so paranoid to let other people know what they're doing. They're afraid that, I guess, the guy down the street who does the same thing they do is going to take their stuff and run with it. There's a quote I think I have on my desk that says, people are so busy worrying about what other people are doing, they forget to be awesome.
Hey, mm-hmm. I love it. I need that quote. I need that for my desk.
But it's true. It's like, I hear so many people on my piece of it, on mine, just like, oh, I can't believe that person's doing that and this and that and the other. And I'm like, why are you worried about it? I mean, go make yourself better. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. I don't have time. I don't have time to, don't get me wrong. I do keep an eye on the competition, but at the same time, I'm not going to obsess over it. I don't have time.
Well, and there's the whole piece of, when you've developed a product, just because somebody sees it doesn't mean they're going to be able to replicate it right away, right? There's all the development time and your own approach. There are just so many ways of delivering that the delivery method and means is as much the product as the end game itself. So So interesting thought on that. Going back to, should all businesses be on social media? And I think we've kind of come around to the idea that no, not all, but many. Can you think of any other type of scenario that perhaps, I think a lot of times I hear people say, well, we're so niche, we're very niche. And that actually could be a really great opportunity to spotlight and educate people, you know? Do you have any advice for niche businesses and whether or not they should be using social and how they might use social?
Well, I think that a very niche business has an even greater opportunity to connect with their consumers. I mean, I really do, because if you're that niche, there are definitely people out there looking for you, right? And, you can take any of the given, I know this is more B2C, but, look at gluten-free, right? Not everybody goes gluten-free. However, that's a very niche market and a very passionate market that you can really tap into and grow that community. I think it gives them a better opportunity to grow a really good community that supports them than even more so. Than if you're not there at all. I take it for your advantage, because not everybody can be Coca-Cola. I mean, there's a million sodas out there. What makes you different? And who are your ambassadors? Who are your advocates? And then they will help you grow your audience.
I'm thinking back to a client we have that their product was one that in the press there were a lot of misconceptions about the product, and we helped them, but we used social to help them dispel some of the myths and dispel some of the media hype, if you will, that really was incorrect, and it was giving them a bum rap and hurting their sales. So we were able to go out through social and, not in a broadcasty way, but just in the slow, measured, consistent release of solid information, solid research, solid case studies, use examples, really showcase the benefit. And it made a great difference for them, and I think that's a real opportunity social gives niche companies or any company that needs to educate the consumer base. And it's one the company can control. So you can control that message as opposed to letting the media take the lead and be the only voice out there speaking for your product or your industry or your service or, whatever.
Because we know the media always gets it right.
Yeah. There you go. And there you have it, folks.
Because they're going to strip out everything between A and Z and just put A and Z together. But it also goes back, to the fact of personality. What we said at the very beginning, which was it gives you the opportunity to show the personality of your company and why I want to do business with you. It's an educational thing. It's not saying here's why I'm great. It's saying this is what we have. This is why we think it's a benefit. I think, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So we're tapping in at 25 minutes. How are we going to finish this up? This was fun, see?
This was fun.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, I'm sorry. I was throwing it over to you. I was giving you the mic. I was giving you the mic, see? All right, you have any closing thoughts? Let me be a little bit more solid with my close.
So my closing thought would be, if your business, regardless of industry, is really interested in tapping into your base of stakeholders, which again is much more than just your prospects. Stakeholders being employees, right? Prospective employees, clients, prospective clients, vendors, and I won't say prospective vendors because it's probably one you're not focused on, but and anyone else, fans in the community, right? The business community, and you really want to have a means that you can control of connecting with them, and you're committed to doing so, then I think the opportunity for every business to successfully use social media is there, and so, I think they can all be, but if they're not committed to doing it, and by committed, I think we talked about the fact that you pick one network. You don't have to be in all of them, and better not to be in all of them, right? But be where your people are going to be. But not every business has to be on social, And those that are willing to make the commitment, we say go for it. And those that are not, you're probably better off staying out. Fair?
I think it's very
fair.
People are spread too thin, and we're just in such a different, again, 5 years ago where we were with, the land of social is completely different where we are now. You have to be smart, you have to be methodical, and you have to make a commitment, an honest commitment. It's not just, it's not a potluck dinner anymore. It's a full 7-course meal that you have to plan and prepare for. All right. Precisely. Well, that's it. I think, well, good. We'll definitely hit you guys up with some more topics here in the next couple of weeks and do something a bit more of a deeper dive than just your average conversation. So thanks, Aid, and until later.